I'm going to teach you the rotational throw for the shot put, and we're going to start right now. What's up, everybody? I'm Dane Miller from throwsuniversity.com, and if this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn how to improve your glide technique, you want to learn how to enhance your rotational technique for the shot put and a discus, make sure you like, you subscribe, and you ring that notification bell so we can help you become a champion. So there's a lot of different models and methods behind how to teach the rotational technique for the shot put, and I think that oftentimes coaches make it a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. They make it a little bit more challenging, and then after they describe it in this very challenging, difficult manner, they come up with 9 million drills that you can do to try and fix your technique and enhance your technique, when in reality, it's not that difficult of a movement, and it's pretty simple to learn, but it can be difficult to make your movement repetitive over time, but that's the ultimate goal. So we've got to make this movement as simple as possible. And one of the biggest things that we pride ourselves on at Throws University is keeping everything as simple as we possibly can. If we can look at that sloppy circle drawing that I have, what I like to think about with the shot put rotational technique is a side-by-side movement. So if we can think about the thrower starting in the back of the circle, we really want to think about it based around a side around side movement. So if you're a right-handed shot putter, we want to think about everything from the right side to the left side to the right side to the left side, okay? So what does that mean? When we start out of the back of the circle, we want to have our feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. One of the things that we want to start with right away is to try and get a little bit of a dynamic stretch in the beginning. We want to get that shot behind that right hip. But as we start to open up and push that weight over our left side, we want to think going over and then around that left. So initially right away, we want to think weight goes over and then around, right out of the back. So our right side will go around our left side out of the back of the circle. When our right side comes to the middle and grounds right before the center of the circle, we want to think about our left side coming around our right side. So we want that left leg to go around the right side. So we're going to have a nice long right side sweep to the middle, that with a long right leg that's dorsiflexed. And then in the middle of the circle, when the right is grounded, we want that left leg to go around that right leg, and that's going to be that secondary sweep to the front. And then when our left leg grounds in the front, our right leg will be grounded earlier and the left leg will be deeper. So that left leg is deep and that left arm should be at about 180 when that left leg gets down. Now we want to finish by having our right shoulder go around our left leg. One of the easiest ways to think about this is to think about over and around and then around, over. It's very, very simple to think about this in a side-by-side base manner. Another simple trick that we like to use is even going forward to get that right leg out and around that left, forward, around, around, forward. It's simple as long as we think about it as a side-by-side movement. A lot of throwers and throws coaches like to think about it as an upper body, lower body movement. But what ends up happening is that we tend to forget our left side. We tend to forget our non-dominant side. And if we can think about it as a side-by-side movement, now we start to coordinate the left leg with the right leg and the left side with the right side in the middle, and we start to see. All we've got to do is take that right leg around the left leg. When the right leg grounds, the left leg comes around the right leg. And then when we finish at the front, we want the right side going around the left side on the finish. So that's a simple way of thinking about the side-by-side rotational technique. I'm going to teach you how to hold a shot for the rotational technique, and we're going to start right now. What's up, everybody? I'm Dane Miller from Throws University, and if this is your first time to our channel, we put out everything about the discus, the shot put with the glide technique, and the shot put with the rotational technique. Make sure that you comment down below with whatever your technical problems are, and be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so that when we drop any educational content, you're the first one informed. So I'm here with NCAA All-American Jason Kuhn, and he is going to help me demonstrate to you the keys behind holding the shot put for the rotational technique. And some of the main things that we want to think about when we're applying force to the shot is, where do we want that shot to sit in our hand? How do we want the shot to rest on our hand, and how do we want that support to then get pushed into our neck? And some of the key factors behind that is that we want to see the shot actually sitting on the bridge of our hand, and ideally all 4 of our fingers behind that, while the thumb is stabilizing that position. And what ends up happening then is, when you have that thumb stabilized, that should raise the elbows so that when you're releasing, the thumb is actually holding down and the 4 fingers will stay behind the ball as you finish through that rotational front position of the shot put technique. And so what we want to see here is, Jason's going to show us, he's going to put that directly behind the ear right here, okay? So we would like to see, occasionally some spinners might put it back a little bit more if they've got really good shoulder mobility. Randy Barnes held the shot back quite a bit, but I believe that for 99% of throwers, this is the ideal spot. It's going to be right behind the ear. He's got his elbow up just like we had discussed. He's got the 4 fingers all making contact on that ball, and he's got his thumb underneath it to provide support. So now, as Jason would get through the front of the circle and release that, the thumb will stay down, the elbow will stay out, and we get a nice flick on the finish to apply that big finish. So oftentimes we get questions about, how can we take a standing throw with the spin technique, with the rotational technique in the shot put? We've got to remember the 3 key elements behind the standing throw first before we dive into it. One, we've got to remember that taking that standing throw is mainly based around a warm-up. We're loosening up our body, we're loosening up our joints, and we're trying to warm up and feel better so that as we progress through that training session, we can start to feel better positions and better technique. The second key aspect behind a standing throw is that we want to have technical feelings. So we want to feel where that shot is when our left leg is grounded if we're a right-handed thrower. We want to feel how that left arm is rotating. We want to feel how that right side is moving forward. We want to feel those positions that ultimately we need to hit when we're taking that full throw. And that third aspect is actually improving technique. So the number 2 is based around technical feeling and having that comprehension. But the third part is actually based around enhancing how you move on that finish and enhancing that position. A lot of times we forget that a standing throw is meant to mimic exactly what we want from that full throw. So we want to make sure that we're not jumping all over the place. We want to make sure that we're not lifting up our dominant leg, our right side, and we're not pulling out on the finish. We want to use a grounded standing throw or a non-reverse standing throw to make that big finish. But now we're going to go into the key aspects behind the rotational standing throw. So right off the bat, in the rotational standing throw, we want to make sure that we have an established foot position. Our feet should be a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and our left big toe, if we're facing that right side of the sector or the right side of the circle, that left big toe should be in line with our right heel. This is where we want to ground when we get to the front of the circle in the spin, and we need to make sure that our foot positioning will mimic where we are in that full throw. That second aspect is that we want to establish tension in the shot with our neck. We want to have that feeling of where the shot needs to be on our hand, and we want to establish that. Ideally for a spin, we're going to put the shot just below the ear. Some guys will hold it back behind the ear. Leif Arrhenius, he's a world-class shot putter who's thrown 20-50, and he would still hold his shot under his chin just like a glider. It's up to you as the athlete and the coach to figure out where that position is, but establish that tension in the upper body and make sure you have that good feeling in the neck. That third element behind that rotational standing throw is understanding what the upper body should do. So make sure that as we wind, we're gonna load up, we're gonna get 70% of our weight over our right leg as we rotate back. And again, remember, We are in the rotational shot put, so the finish should be rotational. We want to utilize rotational energy when we're spinning, and we want to optimize that rotational energy with a rotational finish. So when we're taking that standing throw, we want to rotate back. We want to feel the shot get behind our right hip and ignite the beginning of the rotation with that left arm. The left arm is what's going to trigger the rotation in the rotational standing throw, because we are not going to have the movement, the rotational movement, established from a full throw prior to taking that stand. That last element is based around the finish. We want to make sure that that left arm now is opening up wide, and we want to rotate that right shoulder forward while we hold the ground, while we stay grounded on that finish. And you can see in standing throws of Darrell Hill, of Ryan Krauser, of Joe Kovacs, of some of the best in the world, when they take standing throws, they focus on staying grounded through that full standing throw position. And that's where, with beginners, we've got to focus on staying grounded and rotating forward. Keep it simple. I recommend, with beginners, taking 5 to 10 standing throws is a nice warm-up so that we can start to feel those positions that we want to hit. As throwers start to progress, we can decrease the amount of standing throws that they take in the beginning of practice and have them do a little bit more of a warm-up outside the circle. They could take 3 to 5 standing throws, and then after practice, they can utilize the standing throw as a special strength movement. But make sure that you're hitting all of those key aspects as you work towards developing that elite level technique. So at Throws University at Garage Strength, we get asked all the time, Dane, how do you use the rotational technique with a non-reverse? Do you actually use non-reverses when training the rotational technique? And I think it's very, very important that we take a step back first and recognize what are some of the key elements behind throwing. Some of the key aspects behind throwing is that we've got to have technique. Okay, so we have to establish what that technical model is and recognize why we want to do things from a technical perspective. We want to have a fast rate of force development, but we also want to be able to hold the ground so that we can in turn increase our rate of force development. So we have to optimize our technique. That second aspect is that we want to develop feeling. So we want to sit there and recognize feelings for our athletes or for throwers. We want to learn what those different positions feel like when we're moving through the circle. When we're trying to execute that technical model at a high speed, we need to have that feeling. That third big element is that we want to be grounded. If we recognize what those technical models are and we recognize what those feelings are, now that third step is we want to be grounded in our technical model, because grounded creates more feeling, and more feeling creates a faster rate of force development. It all feeds back to this giant circle of improving our technique. So how do we use the non-reverse for the rotational technique of the shot put? What we like to do is we like to recognize with all of our throwers from an early start, we like to use the non-reverse as our first step of teaching. We actually don't want to teach the reverse right away. We want to teach all of our young throwers how to utilize that non-reverse without even educating them on what a reverse is. And this is going to improve their technical understanding. It's going to improve their feeling, and they're going to be grounded once we transition to that reverse. So for our advanced throwers, we like to use the non-reverse as a way of improving their warm-ups. They're going to establish that nice feeling. They're going to do slow throws with that non-reverse position. And the key here for beginners and for the advanced throwers is that you treat the non-reverse the exact same way that you would be treating that full throw. You're going to try and hit that same positions out of the back. You want that nice wide right leg to the middle. We want to keep that upper body back over the dominant leg in the middle. And when we ground that left side, now our right side is going to rotate past the left in a grounded position. And we need to recognize it's important to feel this non-reverse position, because we want to feel that non-reverse grounded position from a full throw. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, we want our full throws to emulate our non-reverses, but at a higher speed, where our weight will transition faster into that left side, and we have to reverse to save the throw. But the non-reverse can be used to develop that feeling. And one of the ways that we like to use this outside of those slow warm-ups is through transition throws. So we might use it as slow warm-ups where we do 6 to 8 full non-reverses at a 40 to 60% tempo. And then during those transition throws where we want to establish that grounded feeling at higher speeds, now we're going to do a non-reverse at 70 to 80 to 85% speed. And we might even do a little bit of a step through with the rotational technique, because we're going to start to feel that trunk position, that stretching on our trunk. And we want to feel that left leg plant at the front of the circle, and we rotate into that flat left foot, because ultimately that's what we're going to be working towards from that full rotational technique perspective when we start to reverse. So we like to use non-reverses for the slow warm-ups, and we really like to use non-reverses for the high-speed transition throws so that we can improve our technique, we can increase our technical feelings, and we can become much more grounded so that we have a longer period to increase our rate of force development. We've had hundreds of shot putters come through our doors here at Throws University and Garage Strength, and we've seen tons and tons and tons of reps being executed from a perspective of over rotation. And what happens when an athlete over rotates is that they tend to fall a little bit too far. They fall into the circle, they over rotate out of the back, their right leg takes a little too long to ground, and they don't have as much time at the front of the circle to increase their rate of force development, to increase their time while accelerating the implement on the finish. And so what we've come up with is 3 key factors to fix this over rotation, to get that right leg to ground a little bit sooner, to get that left leg down faster, and to accelerate the shot over a long period of time. That first key aspect is change the way you think about the spin. Don't think about the spin as an upper body, lower body movement, but instead think about the spin as a parts movement. So instead of having upper body, lower body, now we're gonna think of the rotation as a right side around the left side and the left side around the right side. Now we can start thinking about that from that right side sweeping wide around that left leg out of the back. Think about Ryan Krauser, think about Joe Kovacs, think about Darrell Hill. That long right leg sweeps wide around that left, and it's going to sweep down into the middle, and that's the first step to figuring out how to prevent that over rotation. So that second key aspect behind fixing that over rotation is letting that left arm lead. So a lot of times we've got coaches that are fearful and they want their athlete to sort of hold that left arm out of the back. And what ends up happening is, especially if they want to hold that left arm inside that left knee, the chest never gets over the left foot. And what we've seen is that throwers like Kovacs and Krauser, who reach and get that long left arm outside of the left knee, when they reach that left arm out, wherever that left hand is, that's where the right sweep foot will get to. So that means we're going back to that key number 1, where the left arm leads and then the right sweeps wide around the left out of the back. And so that left arm getting out over that left foot, the chest getting out over the left foot, now is going to help us shift that weight around the left and get that right down early, preventing over rotation. Sometimes when we pull back and we don't let that left arm open, it sort of lets our hips fall into the middle of the circle, and it almost creates a stumble reflex where we over rotate with that right foot too long. That third key aspect is utilize directional cues. So especially with new throwers who are struggling to find feeling, directional cues are phenomenal. They're simple, they're pointed, they're easy, and all we've got to do is take this circle and split it in half 2 ways. So if we're lining up in the back of the circle, we split a line right down the middle. And what we like to do is actually put a directional cue where it's, hey, I want your right foot to land right before this line. And typically some throwers will lead with their right knee out of the back and sort of fall and to place their foot there, but over time they start to feel that cue number 1 now with that directional cue, is that they start to have that wide right around the left, and they put the right foot down on that arrow or X or circle, whatever it is, that's right before the midway point based around that line that we draw in the circle. So we like to use directional cues, and oftentimes as coaches, we've got to recognize that Most cues feed off of each other. So how does the athlete feed off of that cue number one, which is think about left side around right side around left side. Now play that with the directional cue and they sort of feed each other. And we've got to remember that as coaches, it takes time, it takes years, it takes reps and reps and reps. And the throwers need to recognize that as well. It takes reps, reps, and reps, hundreds and hundreds of reps to fix that over rotation. But once that over rotation is fixed, the left leg will get down quicker, we'll catch the shot a little bit deeper, and we're gonna hit bigger throws. So when we're in season and we're looking at how people have errors, high school throwers, college throwers, the errors that are very, very consistent. Typically, we're gonna see three key mistakes, okay? So when we're spinning, we'll typically see an athlete fall, okay? They'll fall with their left hip and they start to jump, okay? So then when they jump, okay, so they're falling, jumping, and then when they ground in the middle, we might ground in the middle and we're collapsing our chest, okay? So we're collapsing our chest. Our left becomes very, very late, okay? So our left falls to the side, and then we finish and we foul out the front. I actually think that's 4 errors, but we sort of lumped a couple of them together, okay? So if we think about the first key error, and really, most mistakes in the spin can be fixed just by improving the position out of the back. If we really focus on what we're doing out of the back, everything is going to be hunky-dory, okay? Just like the album from David Bowie. So when we're focusing on this, okay, the first thing we need to focus on is not falling in and not jumping, okay? The spin is not this. Contrary to how all the old school guys used to teach the rotation, watch Ryan Krauser, he's not doing it. Now, we want to focus on pushing our right around the left side. So the first key aspect, when we're in season and we want to fix the back of the circle, we can do slow throws, okay? And we can even use a contrast method where we're going to go 3 drills, 1 slow throw. So we can go here with a shot, focus on pushing and holding. Okay, we want to get that weight. I even like to think, get the pec or get the shot in line with the middle of the foot. Watch Ryan Krauser, watch Tom Walsh, watch Josh Awatunde. These guys all do this, okay? So we want to think about here, open level, push, okay? Open level, push, open level, push. And then the actual spin will be easy. Think about a 50% throw. Ryan Krauser has talked about, I want to go as slow as I can and still throw 22 meters. So as high school throwers, that's a really key concept. If we can execute at a slower rate, as we dial that rate up, we should be able to continue that execution if we have that imprinted neural control. So then that slow throw out of the back would look like this, push over and go. And now we're grounding in a better position in the middle. That's gonna take us to that second key error. A lot of high school kids will ground flat-footed and they'll collapse their chest, okay? So they're not balanced. If we're working that slow throw here, the next key aspect that we can actually work on is during the slow throw, grounding here with plantar flexion in our right ankle if we're a right-handed thrower, knee flexion, hip flexion, and staying on top of the actual leg, okay? Stay on top of this leg. Don't let your chest collapse. We wanna keep this chest here because this will set up a more balanced front position, okay? More balanced power position. So the next fix would be if we've worked on the back and our back is really good, but we're still collapsing in the middle, what we could do is a drill where we go step to a half turn, okay? So we're here and we have that same drill that we did in the beginning. So we're stepping to a half turn, okay? Step wide down to a half turn. And one key factor I want to bring up is if you watch the best guys, watch Pippery, watch Ryan Krauser, when they sweep, their right foot is low, 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 boom. Watch Mustafa Hassan from Egypt. Right sweeps, boom, down. It is not high, then down. It is low, 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 down, okay? So we can think about that when we're stepping to that half turn, boom, okay? Now, we can do 3 of those step throughs, and then we can execute a half turn, focusing on the left moving, the left leg sweeps to the front. We keep our chest level here, boom, okay? Sweep, boom. So now that second key fix is gonna be a slow step, do 3 of those, and then execute a half turn where we wanna stay level here. And remember the cue I had in the back. I wanna get my right pec over my left foot. At the front here, I wanna keep my left pec over my right foot. It's just switching everything, okay? So that middle fix, it's gonna be the step, execute a half turn, and think about the left pec being over the right foot when the left leg grounds at the front. And then that's gonna take us to that third key error. That third key error is typically a late left leading to a jumpy finish, and then we're falling out of the front of the circle. So this is gonna be a little bit more complicated, but if we did the drill in the back of the circle and we did the half turns, hopefully that fixes that late left. In an ideal world, most of the time with most high school throwers, if you work on the back and then you work on the middle, the front is basically taken care of. But sometimes that front position can feel foreign and it's a little bit more of a struggle. So one of the things that we can focus on is just sitting here and doing standing throws, nice and easy. We could get a band or we could use a med ball and just walk through this. Okay, so we're here and we just turn. So if I'm holding a band here and it's attached behind me, I can rotate and hold, okay? Rotate, hold. And the big factor here is that I wanna feel level shoulders, balance, 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 balance. Oftentimes, when our left is really late, we get comfortable throwing like this with the spin. And then that's how we foul out that left side. So we wanna think about the right side here, okay? And so we can do 3 drills with a banded stand. We can put the band down, grab the shot, and we just focus on boom and back in. A lot of coaches don't like to teach the reverse. Personally, I don't really like to teach the reverse because if we're doing things out of the back really well, the athlete's just gonna reverse naturally. But if that's a problem, then we have to teach it, okay? So it's important to use that where you can go 3 banded stands, feeling a balanced level with the shoulders, and then practice the reverse and not fouling. And when you do this, do it at 50%. Don't worry about trying to throw it as hard as you can. Do it at 50%, try and save that throw, but implement all 3 of these different techniques. Start with 3 drills, then go to a slow throw. Start with 3 drills and then get to a half turn. Start with 3 drills of the banded stand and then go to an actual reverse practice. You can use all these things and it's gonna help you throw further. If you guys need help with your training, head over to throwsuniversity.com. You can pick up a technical analysis or a training program today. Implement these 3 drills so that you can drop some bombs. Peace. These are the best drills that you can use to improve your spin in 2025. There's here that I want to go over. We're going to talk about the standing position. We're going to do a drill for the standing position. I will touch on the half turn. I'll say for beginners, okay, this is a big one and it might trigger a lot of you and I might get hate comments. I don't really like a half turn for beginners unless we're doing like a banded half turn, and I'm gonna get into that. But then I'm gonna show you 2 drills out of the back of the circle, and I'm gonna show you 1 drill you have never seen in the history of the world. We're unveiling it right here, and it will be the best thing that you can do to improve your spin. All right, so I'm gonna put that out there right now, and I'm gonna expect everybody to do 500 times through with this specific drill once we get to it, okay? But the big factor, let's start off with, I want the left toe, left big toe in line with the right heel here. I want to think about I'm Joe Kovacs. I'm catching with that left elbow over my right knee. Deep catch right here, okay? And we just want to dial this in. And this is something that you can just have your athletes do. If you're a shot putter, just do this. Hold this, boom, okay? And we want to actually feel like 60 to 70% of our weight on the right. Rotate, transfer, okay? Rotate, transfer. Don't go transfer, rotate, okay? And the thing here is that if we have a good position out of the back, we will have good angular momentum to the middle and we will stay on the right instead of transferring forward. If we're too linear off the left on the spin, we will have too much weight shifting early and we'll transfer early without rotating. So keep that in mind. We just want to do a drill here. Boom, slow motion, okay? You ever watch baseball batters, the best baseball players in the world? They'll stand off to the side and they'll swing in line with the pitcher, or they'll even just practice hitting there, okay?
and they're just visualizing the whole time. This is a sport where they're swinging a bat and they're hitting a ball at 90 plus miles an hour, a fraction of a second. But they do it nice and controlled, nice and slow, and they feel the position of their wrists, okay? They feel the positions of the hand. And that's something that we could do simply, is just here, boom, okay? Turn, hit it. Now, the next thing, of course, I'm shifting forward on that one. Next thing, banded stand. Another slow one. Let's say we have the band back here, okay? We come here, boom. And we try to hold. And what you'll see is kids will be falling all over the place. Hold that banded stand tension and try to feel the ground, feel the abs, feel the trunk, feel everything coming forward, okay, into that band. So that's that next progression. Do that for 15 to 20 reps. Now, I'll talk about the half turn. One issue I have with the half turn with beginners is that when we get set, we're here and the goal would be, I keep my weight here. Remember, this is the point we want to catch. Okay, boom, boom, boom. The issue I have with the half turn is that typically what you'll see is we'll have this, and athletes are on the left too long, so they go like that, and then the left is extended off there, and then they shift, and then they go, okay? You'll still see, and the best guys in the world will still do half turns. I understand. But with beginners, I want to make the argument, I don't think it's the best drill because it sort of reinforces this shift forward feeling, and they almost like catch like this instead of catching here. Okay, now what I think is effective is if I had a band attached right there and I have my hand here, okay, and I visualize and I try to think about coming off my left with my left knee facing the middle of the sector. Boom, I come off, the band's attached, and I push here. And what that does is it sort of helps me just stay down here. Okay, so it's almost forcing the athlete to think about the left moving forward, because I believe the way we teach this, right, is like we teach the right comes around the left comes around the right comes around the left. So if that's our technical progression, that's our technical model. Okay, you've probably seen all of those videos. If we teach that, then we need to think through that with the left and the half turns. And that's one thing with beginners, I believe that we should be hammering. Now, this drill, okay, we're gonna go push. And all I want you to do is think about keeping weight. If you notice my first one, my foot rolled. Okay, I want you to open, and the left hand stays in line with your left big toe. And I want to get to this point where my right pec is on the inside of my left heel, and I'm here. And my foot pressure is on the inside of my left foot. Because the biggest error that I see is that we sort of we roll backwards, our hip falls, and then we're late coming off the left because of that, okay? And then we're taking up too much of the ring. So I want to think about getting my weight this way, okay? So we want to think open and pause, okay? Open and pause. And I want to think about being a wide receiver at this point. So I'm a wide receiver coming up to the line, I'm here, I'm checking, and then the big thing here is that now I can push and go. But the drill here is just open and pause, okay, right here. Open, and we get comfortable shifting over. Okay, we want to think over here, shift, rotate. Okay, so it's similar. We want to think, feel the weight on the inside. This next drill, I believe, is like one drill that I think everybody should master at every single level. And I've really only been playing around with this recently. Actually today, even throwing discus, I was with Sam Mattis, two-time Olympian from the United States. We were talking about the left foot out of the back and the importance of the left foot and how it opens to the middle and it helps open the hips. But there's this fine line where people fall. And this is where this next drill comes into play, is that this drill will hopefully prevent you from falling in because you have to be balanced on the drill. And so we're taking the wide receiver drill here, and then the next point, notice actually how I just sort of stepped. I did this, and then I stepped like that. I didn't even mean to do that, but that's a good teaching lesson. That had my weight going this way instead of going into the circle, which is absolutely what we want, okay? Because we want to go this way. Okay, we want to have more angular momentum that way. The left arm will help us lead in. Okay, so now I'm going to go from the wide receiver drill here, and then the next thing I want to get to is here. Okay, so I want my left knee in line with the sector, in the middle of the sector right here. I want my right leg long. A lot of us in high school or middle school will be sweeping like this. This is where they're going to get a cramp right here in the glute right here. And they're going to try to hold this position as long as possible with knee flexion here, okay? Dorsiflexion in the left ankle, hip flexion here, go. The big factor there, man, my quad is swelled up too. The big factor there is we want to go wide receiver drill, here, push, hold. Oh, wow. And the big factor there is the slow motion movement is getting kids to be balanced on the left. Too often, we bring the knee in and we go like this, or we're on the left too long, like that. And then what ends up happening, we land like this and everything's late, okay? And even the best in the world struggle with this. So if we can do these two drills in the back, boom, go, pause, long, and just get comfortable. Like you might have to be here in the beginning and then you can get here. And now I'm like this, my foot gets stronger, and now sweep downhill, okay? But the big thing is getting comfortable on that left foot. So we get comfortable opening, we get comfortable on that left foot, and then we attack wide. But we have to get comfortable on that left foot, and that's gonna take us 500 drills at least to get comfortable on that left foot and to get comfortable with that right leg sweeping to the front. And it's a really, really good warm up as well to feel that before you actually get into the rest of the training session. So these are those key drills that you can use to improve your spin technique. Those last two drills have never been talked about or discussed or released here on YouTube. So like them and use them so that you can drop some bombs. Peace.